Ladies and gentlemen and knife enthusiasts the internet over, I finally did it. I joined the BudK Knife of the Month Club, where every single month I'll get a knife at $10 a piece. I have no idea what it's going to be. It could be crap, or maybe it'll be a diamond in the rough. Let's find out together.
Join me in this review series. This is JJ Jinx Truck Stop Dives!
Episode 6, Rampage Tailwind, $18.99. Welcome back to another one of these. It's been a while since I've worked on this series. Long story short, I lost interest. It became a loose end, and today I'm tying up that loose end. So, I'm just gonna jump right back where I left off with this knife. This is the Rampage Tailwind. Now, BudK's had a number of knives that they've released under the Tailwind name, maybe the Rampage name as well. I don't know. I just know that it's not the first time I've seen these words printed on a BudK knife. So let's talk about some of the vitals of this knife, because some people like to hear that stuff. The overall length is 8.5 inches. That's 22 centimeters. The blade is 3.5 inches long. It's about 9 centimeters. It is a compound grind, kind of a modification of a lot of different blade shapes. Is it a reverse tanto? Is it a sheep's foot? Is it something else entirely? Yes. The pivot system is bearings. The handle is 5 inches long. That's about 13 centimeters. And it only weighs 3.8 ounces. That's 108 grams. The steel is 3CR13. That's similar to 420J2 or AUS4, for those of you who follow the alphabet soup names of steels. It has very skeletonized scales, which are titanium-coated steel. The clip is titanium anodized, shallow carry tip down only. And the locking mechanism is a frame lock. There's a lot to like about this knife that I found over the extended period of time that I carried it, because, I stopped my subscription to the Knife of the Month Club and just kind of carried this for extra time. First thing is, it's visually pleasing. I like this color scheme. The dark gray with the nice blue, including the anodization in the hardware. I like it. I think it looks good. And this backspacer is really cool. These neat geometric shapes put into it. It's got excellent chamfering. If you look at these shapes that were cut out for the skeletonization, they do a pretty good job of making these little cutouts here and there to take away all the sharp edges, including on these speed holes, or whatever that is, on the blade itself. Another thing I liked about it, it's got a very aggressive point. This thing tore into boxes and pretty much whatever I threw at it very excellently. Now, the weight reduction from the skeletonization did a really good job at that. I can't imagine how much this thing would weigh without it. It would have been very heavy. Now, there were some things that I've learned to dislike about this knife as I carried it. One of those things is aesthetic. That chamfering that I just championed is only on one side. So it's like, you did it here, and then just forget about this side, fellas. Let's go home. Same thing on the blade. No chamfering on this side. Why? You were so close to that beautiful symmetry. I would have liked to have seen that a lot. I definitely would have championed it. Another thing I found that I disliked was this interesting blade design. Curious as it is, didn't amend itself very well to slicing. I did try some food prep with this. I've cut potatoes, carrots, steak, chicken, and it was actually kind of difficult because it's like you have this flat part and then this flat part, which is all the way out here, and it's like, how do you slice what? I don't know. I've definitely lost a few slices of carrot off the side of the table because it was just like, shoom, and it flew off, and I was like, oh, I could have controlled that better, but, well, I couldn't. The other thing I found I didn't like is that on hard use, when you really bear down on this thing, there's a grinding that happens somewhere. I'm actually not sure. It's very disconcerting. But what I think might be happening is as you're pushing up against the stop pin, that grinding might be the frame lock kind of moving further in as you apply and then release pressure. I don't know for sure, but it's kind of an odd feeling when you're really going down on something. That's what she said. And all of a sudden there's like a shift internally. Did not like that. But what really killed this knife for me was the dang pocket clip just sucks. It's really terrible, and here's why. The way that it kind of lifts off of this point where it contacts the frame is just not quite enough to gain good purchase with your pocket. And most of the time what I had to do was actually lift it with my finger to help guide it into my pocket. It became really annoying because that's not so easy to do, because the end of this clip is like more than halfway down the handle. So I'm like stuffing my entire fist into my pocket just to get this thing to hang on. It was impossible. I would not be able to deal with that long term. That's asking too much. There were a lot of days where I just dropped it into my pocket and said, forget it. Pocket clip's useless. But other than that, it's actually a pretty solid knife, you know, minus that grinding thing. The lockup is spot on every time. The deployment is spot on every time. And as far as hand feel goes, comfort, I wasn't sure how I would feel about this unusual handle geometry. And I still kind of am not sure. I think it neither added nor detracted from the experience for me. So it just kind of wasn't a big deal, which isn't a bad thing. It's also not really a positive either. It's like, it was neutral. So, take that for what it means, if you could figure it out. For $18.99, I probably would not buy this knife, but for the $10 I got it through the Knife of the Month Club, I would probably buy it at that price. You know, if I had to, knowing what I know now, I would not. Well, I feel a lot better now. The whole BudK Knife of the Month Club series has just kind of been in the back of my mind rattling around, you know. Guy's been procrastinating. My next move is I plan to bust all of the knives out and do kind of a bracket breakdown of which one was the best, you know, an elimination round, so to speak. I also plan to do the same thing with that old series I did a year ago, the Amazon budget carry series that I did. I still intend to get back to that and do the same thing. Then my loose ends will be no more. Anyway, without going too much further, I hope you enjoyed this series, and I look forward to making that follow-up video and putting it to bed.